בשם תהילות ישראל, אבינו שבשמיים, לך כל הכבוד, כל הגבורה, מכל המהומה. מבית ישראל ומבית הגויים נשיר לך כל הנשמה, כל הנשמה תהלליה, כל הנשמה תהלליה, כל הנשמה תהלליה, שירו ביחד הללויה, כל הנשמה תהלליה, כל הנשמה תהלליה, כל הנשמה תהלליה, שירו ביחד יבואו לפניך, יבואו לפניך, כל הגויים אשר עשית, יבואו לפניך, יבואו לפניך, להלל השתחוויה, כל הנשמה תהלליה, כל הנשמה תהלליה, כל הנשמה תהלליה, שירו ביחד הללויה, כל הנשמה תהלליה, כל הנשמה תהלליה, כל הנשמה תהלליה, שירו ביחד הללויה.
Aloha everybody, good to see you guys all today. We missed you guys last week. It feels like we haven't seen you for a long time. And here's someone we haven't seen for 10 seconds.
10 seconds.
The star of the show. No. So good to see all you guys today. Hope you all had a blessed Shabbat weekend, or Shabbat week. We certainly needed some rest, and thank you guys for waiting till we come back here. But
I still need some more rest.
Yeah.
Haven't
yeah,
gotten enough rest.
we have an exciting class planned today. First
Yeah.
of all, I'm going to be teaching from the book of Enoch again, and then Noble's going to come on and teach us some Hebrew. And in between, we have some cool songs. And all you guys, if you have any prayer requests, please put them in the chat. Or if you're on Discord, you can tell us verbally at the end of class. We'll have a short prayer meeting at the end of our class as usual. We missed everybody for Digital Readers Club. I'm so sad they canceled, but that's a prayer request. Sharon, who usually runs Digital Readers Club, needs a lot of prayer. She has a fever. She's not feeling good. I think a lot of people are feeling kind of under the weather a little bit this week. I know I am. I'm a little congested, but I'm okay. I could talk. How about you? Are you under the weather?
I want to go back to sleep.
It's influenced by the weather.
Yeah.
We're joined by Ginger here today. For all you guys following Ginger's story, she's here. She
Yep.
says shalom. So I think we should open in prayer, and then we can get going. Unless
Okay.
you had anything you want to add.
No, that's great.
Okay.
Okay. Good.
Dear Abba, thank you so much for bringing us all here today to study together and to draw closer to you, which is our ultimate goal, to the Most High God. And we thank you so much for keeping us all through this past week where we've had a little break. And we ask you just bless all those who are here and bring those here who need to hear this message today. And we just ask you, your protection be on everyone joining us for class and part of our fellowship, both here in person and abroad. We thank you for giving us this chance to do ministry together as an Ohana. We ask all this in Yeshua's name. Amen.
Amen. You shouldn't call the women broads.
What do you mean? What?
Abroad.
Oh, abroad.
Yes.
Study abroad.
Oh. I thought you were
Here
call-
and abroad. Not that kind.
I thought you were calling the women broads.
I would never do that.
Okay.
I didn't think of that.
So,
Okay.
what have you got for us, Lisa?
I have a great, fun study. It's a continuation from what I was teaching the last time with Enoch and the dream visions. We're going to pick it up with chapter 89. So if
Wow.
you guys have the book of Enoch with you, or you could look online, or you have the actual book from Sacred Word Publishing, you could turn to 1 Enoch chapter 89.
Okay.
We'll
I look
also
forward
be
to it.
using some of the book of Jubilees for backup, so you can
Wow.
get that ready too if you have those books.
All right. I
I'm
look
not sure who
forward
else is on Discord. I know Marva's there.
to it. Okay.
Hey, Marva.
Oh.
So, yeah, so you guys,
Shalom.
Shaloha.
All right. Yeah. Marvin, somebody else is on. Oh,
Isaac.
Ah.
Isaac's on.
Okay. Go ahead, Lisa. Take it away.
All right. I thank you guys for all your prayers, and I just thank the Most High for sustaining us during this past week. There's been a lot
You're gonna
going
take
on,
first, Mom?
but it's been a really fun time. We're going to pick it up here in 1 Enoch chapter 89, verse 1. And this is continuation. I'm not sure if any of you watched the last time I taught on the dream visions. We're going to especially focus on the animals that he names today, that he sees in his dreams, his visions from the Most High. And the first time when I read through this entire text by myself, before I even read it with Noble, I kind of just skimmed through this part of First Enoch, just because to me it just seemed like I didn't understand what was going on. They're kind of labeled in the R.H. Charles, so you could kind of get an idea that he's actually seeing from the beginning of creation all the way up until the Messianic period. But they're depicted by animals, all the different patriarchs, prophets, major players in the Bible. So I think it's really cool that he saw all this. He saw everything from the past in this dream vision all the way into the future in his dream vision. So we're going to go through to the first 40 verses today. So I think we're ready to go. All right, I'm going to start reading 1 Enoch chapter 89, verse 1. And one of those four, okay, now we're picking up from last time where this is before the flood. Enoch is seeing this in his vision, and this is around the same time that Enoch is alive. I think it was shortly after he was taken up, where he's an ancestor of Noah. So I remember in a couple chapters ago when Noah was kind of concerned about everything that was going on, and he goes and calls to Enoch and asks him for his help. And if you remember earlier in 1 Enoch chapter 10, verses 1 and 2, if you want to take a look there, you can see who these four are, the four archangels. So this particular archangel, Uriel, in chapter 10, he was told by the Most High God to go and warn Noah and help him prepare the ark and the animals and everything that went along with that. And so, as you remember from Genesis, it took about 100 years, a little more than 100 years to build the ark. And he did have some help. And the extra biblicals, we read that the angels helped him to construct this massive structure. It wasn't just Noah and his 3 sons. That would be really tough to construct this huge thing to hold hundreds of animals. So it makes it a little bit more clear when you have the extra biblicals in there. All right, so one of those 4, this is the archangels, Uriel, went to that white bull. And as we talked about last time, the white bull resembled Noah. Not because Noah was like, not really big for his skin color, but there is pretty good evidence that Noah was an albino, because he needed a way to carry all the DNA for all the future generations on Earth past the flood. So whenever you see this white bull, this is Noah. And instructed him in a secret without his being terrified. He was born a bull and became a man and built for himself a great vessel. And this is the ark. And again, just like last time I taught, whenever you see parentheses, that's me putting in a few notes just to remind myself I need to expand on this a little and to explain what's going on. But the things in the parentheses are not in the book of 1 Enoch. Okay, this is my little insert to remind me. All right, so he built for himself a great vessel, the ark, and dwelt thereon, and 3 bulls, and that's Noah's sons, dwelt with him in that vessel, and they were covered in. And again I, and this is Enoch speaking, raised mine eyes toward heaven and saw a lofty roof, and this is the firmament, with 7 water torrents. That's talking about in Genesis how the windows of heaven were opened thereon, and those torrents flowed with much water into an enclosure. And I saw again, and behold, fountains, and this is like the fountains of the deep, like the water volcanoes, were opened on the surface of that great enclosure, and that water began to swell and rise upon the surface. And I saw that enclosure till all its surface was covered with water. Now, I showed this a little bit in one of our previous shows, and I wanted to explain it a little bit more because I love this depiction of our cosmology. Whoever the artist was, I'm sorry I don't have someone to quote who created this. It wasn't me. But I found this online, and this is a pretty good depiction of where we live. Now, I'm not sure how biblical scholars who still think we live on a globe, which is the vast majority of them, I think, since they're scholars, right? They think we live on a globe. But I don't know how they can even imagine how a worldwide flood would happen on a spinning ball. I mean, to me, it seems like the more water you put on there, the more chance it has of flying off when it's going around in a circle, right? At however many miles an hour that NASA says the Earth is spinning at. But to me, this makes so much more sense now that I know our biblical cosmology as described in hundreds of verses in the Bible and in the extra biblicals like this book. So there's no other way around it. It has to be like this, where there's an enclosure Enoch's describing, and it's slowly filling up is what he's seeing on the inside. So you can see how there's actually quite a few firmaments. There's at least 7 that are described in the extra biblicals. In the book of the Ascension of Isaiah, it describes a lot of the firmaments. The other books of Enoch, it describes them with a lot of detail of like what is in each level of the firmament. So you might want to dive into those, and you can find those at sacredwordpublishing.com. But take a look at this picture. I think it's so cool. It shows the pillars of heaven. They're on the bottom. You can see the pillars of earth. They're kind of on the inside. Then there's actual earth way on the inside there. And to me, it makes so much more sense that when the Most High would create something with his most precious people made in his own image on the inside, that he would put all of these enclosures to protect us, you know? We wouldn't be on the outside of some spinning thing that's covered with water. It just makes no sense whatsoever. Okay, and so then there's the waters above. If you look on the way on the inside there, you can see there's 2 little openings on each side. I believe there's more than that, but just the artist's depiction where he put the windows of heaven opening there. And you can also see the sun and the moon the same size there within the first and second firmament. And you can see the other firmaments containing a bunch of stars, which we know are angels. other heavenly beings, and then there at the top there's the throne of the Most High. And I believe there's 7 in here. There's 7 layers, and then the throne of the Most High has the last 2. So I think this is a cool depiction. If you guys want to screenshot this, you're more than welcome to and share it. I found it in a group on Facebook. There was no artist that was attached to this. So in the book of Enoch, it's described as a lofty roof. So how do you have a lofty roof on a spinning globe? It just makes no sense. Okay, and this is a verse from Jubilees chapter 5, verse 24, to describe the fountains of the deep. And the mouths of the fountains of the great deep were opened, 7 mouths in number. I love it that it's always, the numbers always kind of correspond. We kind of can attribute the number 7 to the Most High, and that's how many fountains that there were. Now this depiction is from our friends at the God Culture. I've taught on this before in my Rivers from Eden video of the Solomon's Gold. And if you take a look at this is and I don't trust NASA now, but this is a depiction of that NASA says if all the water was drained from the face of the earth, it looks like there would be 7 rivers that appear. And these line up exactly with the deep underwater ocean trenches that we are underneath the ocean today. So this is a pretty good depiction of what it could have looked like before the flood, where the only type of water, it mentions there's only 15% of water that was on the earth, and that would have been in these huge, massive rivers that other texts explain these as being about 8 miles wide, 8 miles deep, somewhere around there. But they all started in Eden, which is from the far north, and they wind around to water the entire earth. Biblical scholars say that the rivers of Eden were all located in the Middle East, but as I've said before, if they're all located in the Middle East, how can they water the entire earth? It just makes no sense. Plus the rivers that they talk about, like the Euphrates and that are now located in the Middle East, those are like left over more from mud floods. It's not something that's super deep that would have been there before the flood. So this makes a lot more sense. I'm really grateful to the God Culture. You can watch their video called The Rivers of Eden, where Tim goes into a lot of detail about these. But this would have been where the fountains of the deep were broken up, where there's 7 different water volcanoes as mentioned in Jubilees. So maybe 1 for each river, and these would have been massive, just shooting water straight up while the water is coming down from above. Okay, verse 4. And the water, the darkness, and mist increased upon it. This is when Enoch sees the flood. And as this is Enoch, looked at the height of that water had risen above the height of that enclosure. Okay, and this goes back to the book of Genesis and Jubilees. It both says the water reached 15 cubits above the tallest mountain, which we know is Mount Everest, in the ancient Himalayas. And Himalaya in Sanskrit means miracle. So miracle mountains, would have been where the ark rested. Not in Turkey, okay? And I know a lot of you have followed Ron Wyatt's work, but it just makes no sense when it says the people traveled from the east to Shinar. How does that work coming from Turkey and going west? To me, it makes no sense. And yes, I'm sure he did find some sort of ark, but it might have been a ship, like maybe a huge Phoenician ship left over after the mud floods, or maybe it was like a Nephilim ark where they tried to save some of their own, but it was not Noah's ark because it does not match the directions in the Bible or in any of the extra biblicals. And I know, yes, there was like graves that had Noah's name on it, and it looked like they were giants. And I used to believe, that too. That oh wow, this makes sense. This is actually called Mount Ararat, but that name is only like 500 years old. It's not. That mountain was never called Ararat like in ancient times. Then again, we have the Himalayas, and Himalayas make more sense. They were much higher, and then the people would have been able to travel from the east to the land of Shinar. Yes.
What about Mount Meru?
Mount Meru, that's a good one. I believe, like from Zen's study, that Mount Meru is at the north, and that's like the magnetic mountain. Other people also call Mount Kailash Mount Meru, and Mount Kailash is actually in the Himalayas. I have a whole nother study coming on that mountain because that's a totally different story that occurred after the flood. And evidence that it's actually not even a mountain, it's an ancient pyramid. So tune in later on, not today, but in another study for that. But good question about Mount Meru. Okay, and it came to pass as they journeyed from the east. So if you want to look, Genesis chapter 11, verse 2, it specifically says they journeyed from the east. So they didn't journey from Turkey and go west. It says in Genesis they journeyed from the east. And it's something that a lot of people are overlooking because they really trust Ron Wyatt's work, and he does a really good job. I don't want to knock him or anything, but you know, it's a simple direction that you have to look in Genesis and see which way they traveled from. And also too, it would make sense the ark would have hit the highest mountain, you know. It was 15 cubits above Mount Everest, the tallest mountain on earth. And so it would have made a lot more sense that was where the ark landed. All right, and it was streaming over that enclosure, and it stood upon the earth. And all the cattle of that enclosure were gathered together until I saw, and this is Enoch again, how they sank and were swallowed up and perished in that water. But that vessel floated on the water, while all the oxen and elephants and camels and donkeys. Okay, who remembers what the elephants, camels, and donkeys represented from my last teaching a couple weeks ago?
Mm-hmm. The
You guys remember
Democrats
that?
and Republicans. And the
Noble
independents.
I even had to make a post on Instagram for Noble saying that about the elephants and donkeys, because there is a note at the bottom of the R.H. Charles text that says that camels were not originally listed in there. It was just the elephants and donkeys, so I think that's super hilarious. So anyway, you notice that I have, whenever I refer to Nephilim or fallen angels, it's going to be in blue, whereas when you see oxen or godly people or the patriarchs, it's going to be in green. So I kind of tried to color code it for you guys. All right, so he's describing what happened in the flood. That vessel, the ark, floated on the water, while all the oxen, which is mankind, and the elephants, camels, and donkeys, that's the Nephilim and all of their creations that they made with their DNA combinations, sank to the bottom with all the animals. Okay, and then we're talking about the unclean animals, the ones the Nephilim created. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So our focus today, again, is on the animals, so that I could no longer see them, and they were not able to escape, but perished and sank into the depths. Verse 7, and again I saw in the vision till those water torrents were removed from that high roof, and the chasms of the earth were leveled up, and other abysses were opened. Okay, there's other abysses. When it talks about abyss, it's like something that goes into the underworld. And so as we know, when it happened with creation, when it says the Spirit of God moved over the face of the waters, there was waters, there's quite a bit of waters below where we're at, and they're super hot. So that's how everything, I believe, all of the ancient old red brick structures that you see, not all of them, but the larger ones that would have been built by the giants before the flood, we call them mountain ranges today, like the Rocky Mountains, the mountains here in Hawaii, they all kind of look like pyramids, and they're hollow. So I believe those were ancient buildings, like from the flood, before the flood. Okay, so this is the abysses. Verse 8, then the water began to run down into these. Okay, so it's going back into the underworld, kind of like you pull the plug on the bathtub, and till the earth became visible. But that vessel, this is the ark, settled on the earth, and the darkness retired, and light appeared. Verse 9, but that white bull, okay, who's this? This is Noah, which had become a man, came out of that vessel, and the 3 bulls with him. And who's the 3 bulls? One of those 3 was white like that bull, and one of them was red as blood, and one black. And that white bull departed from them. All right, so we have some visuals here. So the first picture you guys saw, that was Noah. And, you know, it's said in extra biblicals and in the book of Enoch, his appearance, he was just this white, with white woolly looking hair, and really bright eyes. So he had to be the one to carry the DNA to after the flood. So he was albino, most likely, carried the DNA of all human races after the flood. The other bulls that I mentioned, there was one white one. Now after the flood, there's a little switch, because before the flood, the white bulls signified godly, righteous. Adam was labeled a white bull. Noah was labeled the white bull. Okay, now after the flood, though, in my opinion, these are talking about the various types of skin color that is created here on Earth. So if you saw my study several months ago about the lands where that were allotted to the sons of Noah based on the book of Jubilees and Genesis in the Table of Nations, Japheth was awarded the cooler northern lands, and Japheth had the fairest skin out of the 3 sons of Noah. And we can see that in his descendants. Japheth was given what we call Europe, what we call Canada, the far northern lands, but not Eden, not the area around what we could call Mount Meru or the black magnetic mountain in the north. That was allotted to Shem. So anyway, Japheth got the northern cooler lands, and he was the fairest, the whitest of Noah's 3 sons. Then there was Shem, that's the red bull. He was a medium brown, kind of reddish skin, like what you see with Native Americans, what you see with Asian, Filipino, that it's like this golden brown skin with kind of a reddish tone. If you look at Noble's got that beautiful skin I wish I had. That's from Shem. Those of you who know, Noble is a Shemite. His parents were both from the Philippines, where everybody has that gorgeous color of skin where you don't ever have to go out in the sun and get a tan like me.
I got some white bull in me too.
You got white bull?
Yeah.
Not red bull?
I don't drink that.
Okay. So Shem, it says in the book of Jubilees, chapter 8, verse 30 at the top, it is cold. This is where it's dividing the different portions of earth to Noah's sons after the flood. Okay, so Japheth's portion was cold. The land of Ham is hot, because we're going to get to Ham here. And the land of Shem is neither hot nor cold, but is of blended cold and heat. So Shem got all the lands in the middle. Japheth got the lands in the north. Ham got the lands in the south. And that would include Australia. If you look at the Aboriginals, they were dark, very dark. Ham is represented by the black bull with the hottest lands, and he had the darkest skin of the brothers, according to these extra biblicals. So New Zealand, Australia, South America, North America, the southern part, and it's kind of ironic, you could trace it to the 33-degree parallel and south would have been Ham's land in North America, and then of course all of South America. Shem's land would have included all of Asia, the islands of the east, which is like the Philippines, possibly even Okinawa, the southern part of Asia, and Japheth would have been more Japan, northern Russia, Siberia area. You can kind of see where the majority of the indigenous people match up with these 3 colors. Verse 10, and they began to bring forth beasts of the field and birds, so that there arose different genera. Okay, so this is continuing Enoch's vision. He's going to see all kinds of animals here. You're going to notice a lot of these animals, I think all of these are unclean, considered unclean according to Levitical law. All right, so there's lions, tigers, wolves, dogs, hyenas, wild boars, foxes, squirrels, swine, pigs, falcons, vultures, kites, I think that's a certain type of bird like a crow, eagles, and ravens. All right, so all of these animals, we're not supposed to be eating these according to Levitical law. They're, in my opinion, part of the reason would be because their DNA was a little bit mixed after the flood by the giants who maybe could have either survived the flood or were from the serpent seed of Canaan. Okay, and among them was born a white bull. Okay, so here we have, it goes a little bit back, not to the skin color, but to the godliness of this person. We're going to see who the white bull is in this next verse, 11. And they began to bite one another, but that white bull, and it was Abraham, which was born amongst them, beget a wild donkey. Okay, here, I'm putting this in brown now. This is the line of Ishmael. And a white bull, another godly son here, which is Isaac. Who's sitting over here.
I'm not white.
With it, and the wild donkeys multiplied. Okay, so the line of Ishmael. But that bull, which was born from him, again, we have Isaac, begat a black wild boar. Okay, here we have the color black come in again. This time it's not describing this person's skin color or hair color, because we know that his hair and skin were like red like blood. Esau, and a white sheep, and the former begat many boars, but that sheep begat 12 sheep. Who do you think that sheep is? The brother with Esau. Anybody have any ideas? Has to be Jacob.
Yaakov.
Yep, Yaakov. 12 sheep is who he begat. And here we have some more pictures. So we got Ishmael, the wild donkey. We have Yaakov and his offspring with the sheep. We have Esau as the black wild boar because he was evil. And then we have the Egyptians. They're the wolves. We're going to see some more coming up about the wolves in the next section here. Verse 13, and when those 12 sheep had grown, they gave up one of them, okay, this is Joseph now, to the donkeys. And this is from the Ishmaelites, the slave traders. And those donkeys again gave up that sheep, okay, still talking about Joseph again, to who? To the wolves. This is the Egyptians. And that sheep, this is Joseph, grew up among the wolves.
Stop.
And Yahweh, or Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, brought the 11 sheep, the tribes of Yaakov, which is Israel, his new name, to live with it and to pasture with it among the wolves. So they all moved to where? They all moved to Egypt. And they multiplied and became many flocks of sheep. And the wolves began to fear them. They oppressed them until they destroyed their little ones. And they cast their young into a river of much water. Which river is that? The Nile. But those sheep began to cry aloud on account of their little ones and to complain unto Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, or Yahweh. Verse 16. And a sheep, okay, and this is another sheep they're talking about, Moshe, which had been saved from the wolves, and we know that story, he'd been saved by Pharaoh's daughter, fled and escaped to the wild donkeys. This is the Midianites. They're of Ishmael, so they're included with the donkeys. And I, this is Enoch or Hanok, saw the sheep, this is the children of Israel, how they lamented and cried and besought Yahweh Elohim with all their might, till Yahweh Elohim of the sheep descended at the voice of the sheep from a lofty abode and came to them and pastured them. And I think this is cool because David had to have read the book of First Enoch because he's writing about, in Psalm 23, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh is my shepherd. So he already knows that when he's talking about the children of Israel, they're categorized as sheep. Where did he get that from? First Enoch. There's nowhere else before David that they would have talked about that, being the sheep, right? It's so trippy how that worked.
Unless he's using a metaphor for his job description.
He could, but he was a shepherd. Yeah? So he knows he's a descendant of the sheep and not the wild donkeys or wolves. Okay, verse 17. Here's some really cute woolly sheep. And he called that sheep, this is Moshe, which had escaped the wolves, the Egyptians, and spake with it concerning the wolves, that it should admonish them not to touch the sheep. The sheep are the children of Israel. And the sheep, okay, this is, when they're talking about a singular sheep, this is Moshe, went to the wolves, which is the Egyptians and Pharaoh, according to the word, and we know the word of Yahweh is Yeshua, his son, and another sheep, which is brother Aaron, met it and went with it, and the two went and entered together into the assembly of those wolves, and spake with them, and admonished them not to touch the sheep from henceforth. Remember all those trips back and forth to Pharaoh? Verse 19, and thereupon I saw the wolves, and how they oppressed the sheep exceedingly with all of their power, and the sheep cried aloud. And if you read the book of Yasher, there's some really, really in-depth descriptions of exactly how evil these people were in Egypt, of how they took the babies, and if they didn't make enough bricks for that day, they'd go and grab their newborn baby and shove that in the wall. I mean, it was just horrible, horrible. No respect for life. The Egyptians were really bad. Verse 20, and Yahweh Elohim came to the sheep, this is the Israelites, and they began to smite those wolves, and this is all the 10 plagues. And the wolves began to make lamentation, but the sheep became quiet and forthwith ceased to cry out. I just think it's so cool how this dream vision is so detailed. Like, Enoch is seeing all of this happen way ahead of time, and we have all the material. We can read all about this stuff and all the details Enoch's seeing. And I saw the sheep till they departed from amongst the wolves, and this is during the Exodus. But the eyes of the wolves were blinded, and those wolves departed in pursuit of the sheep with all their power. And the Elohim of the sheep went with them as their leader, and all his sheep followed him, and his face was dazzling and glorious and terrible to behold. I thought this was a really cool depiction of the 10 plagues, and it's in Hebrew too. So, the first one, I'm sure we all remember these, but I'm going to go over it real quick. Boils.
Blood was first.
What is that?
Blood was first.
Oh, sorry. Blood
Hebrew,
is first.
right to left.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so there's blood. Dam is first. Then the boils. Shakin. Then the frogs. Maybe you can help me with this, honey. The frogs. How do you say frogs in Hebrew? Sepharda. Dea. Sepharda. Okay, hail, barak,
Barak.
lice, kinim,
Kinim, yep.
locusts, erve,
Arebe.
wild animals, arov,
Arov.
darkness, choshek, cattle disease, dever,
McDonald's.
Done.
Oh, sorry.
Slaying of the firstborn is the last one, and that is makat
Makat. Bekurot.
bekorot.
Bekurot.
All right, so this is just a little reminder of what the Egyptians had to go through. And it's hilarious too when you do the in-depth study of how each one of these was one of their idols they actually worship, so it's kind of like in their face.
How come there's no picture in darkness?
Maybe that's the outside ring, the black. I don't know. No, there is a, it's right there, the darkness.
It's darkness because it's all black. That's all you
Yeah,
can see.
you can't see anything. You can't see your hand. That's what it is like here in Hawaii, like on New Year's. We can't see your hand in front of your face.
No, I
It's
read that there were different
smoky.
levels of darkness. I was doing a study on it, and it was so dark. At first, the Egyptians, they could see like the hands in front of their face. Okay, but as the week progressed, they couldn't see the hand in front of their face. In fact, they could walk around. I mean, they could stand up and walk around earlier, but when the darkness got really bad, they couldn't walk around. Here, they had wherever they were at, they were stuck there. They could
Wow.
not even walk or move or crawl. It was so thick.
Do you remember how long that lasted?
Um,
I don't remember any
around a
time
week,
period.
something like that.
About a week.
Yeah. Well, they had to go to the darkness for a while.
Yeah, so it wasn't just like 24-hour period or something. It was pretty long.
Yeah, but so different levels of darkness. It's not like just turning the lights off and it's dark.
Yeah.
It's a different type of darkness that you can actually feel.
Wow.
Nothing that I think we've ever experienced, not yet. But I'm sure the same plagues on Egypt will come upon America one day, when
On the world. Yeah.
America and then the world. Yep. Why? Because God's judgment. It's coming.
Yeah,
It's coming.
that's right. Was there any other comments or anything you wanted to share or questions before I move on? Anybody?
No, everybody's happy to see you there.
Unless you know where to get alpaca blankets.
Oh, Peru.
Alaska.
Oh,
Oh.
Peru and Alaska.
Oh, and Alaska. Ginger says Alaska. Okay, alpaca blankets. All right, we're going to move on then.
Take your time.
Verse 23.
Take a lot of time.
But the wolves began to pursue those sheep till they reached a sea of water. Okay, where are we now? The sheep, remember, the children of Israel, the wolves of the Egyptians, the Red Sea, or the Reed Sea, as some people say. And that sea was divided, and the water stood on this side and on that before their face. And Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh Elohim led them and placed himself between them and the wolves. And as those wolves did not yet see the sheep, they proceeded into the midst of the sea, and the wolves followed the sheep, and those wolves, this is the Egyptians, ran after them into the sea. And when they saw Yahweh Elohim of the sheep, they turned to flee before his face, but that sea gathered itself together and became as it had been created, and the water swelled and rose till it covered those wolves. And I saw till all the wolves who pursued those sheep perished and were drowned. Here's a visual. Although you read in the Legends of the Jews, it wasn't just one channel that parted. It was one channel for each tribe. And to me, that makes way more sense than having over 1 million people trying to all go through one. But the Red Sea parted in 12 channels, one for each tribe of Israel, to walk through on dry ground. You can find this in Legends of the Jews. Verse 28, but the sheep escaped from that water and went forth into a wilderness where there was no water and no grass. And they began to open their eyes and to see. And I, this is Enoch again, saw Yahweh Elohim of the sheep pasturing them and giving them water and grass. And that sheep, which is Moshe, going and leading them. And that sheep, again Moshe, ascended to the summit of that lofty rock. This is Mount Sinai. And Yahweh Elohim of the sheep sent it to them. And after that I, Enoch, saw Yahweh Elohim of the sheep, who stood before them, and his appearance was great and terrible and majestic, and all those sheep saw him and were afraid before his face. And they all feared and trembled because of him, And they cried to that sheep with them, this is Moshe, which was amongst them, "We are not able to stand before Yahweh Elohim or to behold him." So there's a lot more details of this in the other extra biblicals, exactly how terrified these people were. They actually died, and the angels had to go raise them up, because I did this kind of study when I was talking about the golden calf. I don't know if you remember that study, but I mentioned a few things that happened like around Mount Sinai, which all led up to the reason why Moshe had to go up there and get the commandments instead of Yahweh Elohim giving the commandments to the people, because they were just they were so terrified they actually died. So anyway, there's that part. And here is Mount Sinai. There's been some speculation as to where Mount Sinai is located. I believe that according to scripture, in my opinion, that it would be in Saudi Arabia, just where scripture locates it, on the east side of the Reed Sea or the Red Sea. And this is a picture of it. You can actually even see the rock, supposedly, that was split. I think that's a really cool study on its own too. Verse 32. And that sheep, which is Moshe, which led them again, ascended to the summit of that rock. But the sheep, this is the children of Israel, began to be blinded and to wander from the way which he had showed them. And this is, again, my teaching from several months ago about the golden calf. This is, they're making and worshiping the golden calf. And it wasn't because of Aaron's influence. It was because there's a rabble from Egypt that followed them out of Egypt. And the Legends of the Jews and the book of Jannes and Jambres mentions how they were like the instigators. These two magicians, the two sons of Balaam, were among the Israelites as they traveled out, because they were like, we don't want to be part of these plagues anymore. They just wanted to be where the Most High was, but yet they were still serving Satan. So they were the instigators of that whole ordeal. But that sheep, what not thereof? This is some Old English, so that means Noah. They're talking about, not Noah. Sorry, Moshe. He wasn't there, and he wasn't part of that whole golden calf thing. Verse 33. And Yahweh Elohim of the sheep was wrathful exceedingly against them. And that sheep, again Moshe, discovered it and went down from the summit of the rock and came to the sheep and found the greatest part of them blinded and fallen away. Verse 34. And when they saw it, they feared and trembled at its presence and desired to return to their folds. And that sheep, Moshe, took other sheep, and this is if you go back into the story of the golden calf, he had the Levites, the priests do this, the Levitical line, and came to those sheep which had fallen away, and that means they kissed the calf, they had the gold on their upper lip, they were busted, and they began to slay them, and the sheep feared its presence, and thus that sheep brought back those sheep, the children of Israel, that had fallen away, and they returned to their folds. So Moshe had the Levites actually, they had to kill those who had the leftover of the calf on their lip or by their nose. Verse 36. And I, Enoch, saw in this vision till that sheep became a man and built a house or tabernacle for Yahweh Elohim of the sheep, and placed all the sheep in that house. And I, Enoch, saw till this sheep, this is Aaron, which had met that sheep, Moshe, which led them, fell asleep. And I saw till all the great sheep, and this is the first generation that was exiting Egypt, perish, because they were following the bad advice basically of the 10 spies that were too afraid to deal with the land of Canaan and the giants, and so they had to wander in the wilderness 40 more years. So they perished, and the little ones arose in their place, and they came to a pasture and approached a stream of water. Then that sheep, again Moshe, their leader, which had become a man, withdrew from them and fell asleep, and all the sheep sought it and cried over it with a great crying. I'm just imagining Enoch writing all this down after he has this vision. He's seeing into the future, all his generations, what's going to happen, who the leadership's going to be like. But it's all in animal form. I think it's kind of cool, kind of like a little cartoon or something. But it must have been a really cool dream vision. This is a depiction from our friend Andy Hoy. I don't know if you guys have seen his work, but he's put out some really awesome books about the tabernacle. And I was always taught, and I think any of you, if you've grown up in church or if you've gone to Bible college or done any sort of study on the tabernacle before Flat Earth became a thing in about 2014, 2015,
Re-emerged, rather.
Yeah, re-emerged. We were all so blinded for so long, right? So if you look on the inside of this little depiction, this is, that rectangle thing is how I grew up thinking the tabernacle looked like. We go to Israel, we go into this messianic area, they have this display with the tabernacle exactly like that. And me, being the clumsy person I am, we walk through the tabernacle, I turn the corner, I immediately fall, tripping over all these ropes that they have tethered on the outside. And I'm like, wait, these ropes and all these stakes in the ground have nothing, they're not listed in the materials for the tabernacle. Why are they here? Oh no, it's to hold up the tabernacle. I'm like, well, if we need it now, why didn't the Israelites list it back then as part of the materials? And come to find out that if you stretch out all of those layers, because it's so hot and so dark inside of this small little tabernacle, it makes way more sense to have it in the shape of a dome, because it says the heavens are Yahweh's tabernacle. So it needed to be something modeled after the firmament. Okay, now the temple is a different story. It doesn't say the temple is his tabernacle. The heavens are his tabernacle. So the way Andy Hoy taught this and the way I learned it, it just makes so much more sense, because this would have been the type of tent that it's not affected by the wind because of the way it's shaped. Andy Hoy's an architect, so he put all this material together. It's just amazing. You can go and take a look at his work. You just do like a word search for Andrew Hoy and the tabernacle, and it just, to me, it just opened up my eyes to like, okay, now this makes more sense. For like 1 million people to be worshiping and everything, it wouldn't be that tiny little rectangular structure in the middle. It would have been this huge dome. And so since they're doing sacrifices and everything, for the smoke to ascend up to heaven from the middle, instead of just like from one end, and it's like super small, you can only fit like 20 people in there at a time, whereas this one you could fit like hundreds of people in at a time. So the tabernacle is not in the shape of a rectangle. This does not work with all the materials and adds ropes and tent pegs in order to hold it up. Plus, just with all those layers on that small one, it would have been a horrible thing to go inside, because it would have been super hot, as it was when we went there, dark, damp. It would just been so much mold and everything. It wouldn't have been designed in the way that the Most High would have had it done. Okay, so there's my spiel on that. Verse 39, and I saw till they left off crying for that sheep, and this is Moshe when he passed away, and crossed that stream of water, this is the Jordan River, finally after 40 years of wandering, and there arose 2 sheep, and this is the 2 spies that actually told the truth, Joshua and Caleb, as leaders in the place of those which had led them and fallen asleep, and that's Moshe and Aaron. And I saw till the sheep came to a goodly place and a pleasant and glorious land, this is the land of Canaan, the promised land, and I saw till those sheep were satisfied, and that house stood amongst them, this is the tabernacle again, in the pleasant land, this is the promised land stolen by the descendants of Canaan of Ham. Okay, so this is the end of my study right here. I do have another section I would like to go into for maybe about 20 minutes, but we're going to take a quick break, and Isaac's going to play a song or something else. I'm going to get a drink of water and stretch for a little bit, and I'll be right back.
at least I just want to thank you so much for this teaching. It's so cool. Today I was going over last week's one and totally just get all the books on the bed, and I'm sitting there, and so I was really excited to get this week's one.
Oh, right on. Right on. I'm so glad.
So cool. Thank you.
I'm
Yeah,
so
I
glad.
know this is a great job.
Awesome. That's awesome.
דומה לך
They get grants into it.
Yeah, yeah.
כל הבריאה מחכה לחיסופי מה שמך השם במך אז יתגדל ויתקדש וירומם ויתנשא ישוע ויתפאר וישתבח השם מעל כל שם ישוע ויתגדל וישתבח וירומם ויתנשא ישוע העולם סובב סביבך דו סביבי יהיה המרכז לך אשתחווה אלוהים בורא עולם הגיבור של הסיפור דמות המרכזית העולם סובב סביבך אלוהים בורא עולם ישוע
כל ממך כל הלב
הלב השבח לך
הכל מתחיל בך והכל נגמר בך
הוא יתעלה קבל כבוד כל הנשמה תהלל אותך
כל המלאכים שרים עם כל הבריאה הם מכריזים
אתה קדוש אתה קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות אשר היה ויעבור קדוש קדוש אדוני צבאות מלאה הארץ כבודו קדוש קדוש אדוני צבאות אשר היה ויעבור אתה קדוש של הסיפור דמות המרכזית העולם סובב סביבך דור סביבי יהיה המרכז לך אשתחווה אלוהים בורא עולם ישוע
welcome back after that short, kind of not too short break. But anyway, this section I wanted to kind of go into some of the animal, especially one of the animals that somehow appeared after the flood, which means we know that the giants appeared after the flood from the verse in Genesis that says there were giants before the flood and also after that. So we know somehow their serpent seed bloodline was carried on after the flood. And I think it's really interesting. I want to start out with a chapter in the Book of the Bee, chapter 54. If any of you guys have the Book of the Bee, you can read along. And this will kind of lead us into a short study on one of the types of the Nephilim hybrids that is mentioned in the Bible, and that is the dog-headed men. I'm also going to be using some material from Gary Wayne's book and from his research to back up this kind of cool study. So I'm going to start with chapter 54 from the Book of the Bee. This is of Gog and Magog, who are imprisoned in the north. We were just talking about Mount Meru. Now, if Mount Meru is the mountain at the north, then this is the land where these creatures are at. When Alexander was king, now this is after the flood now, okay? Alexander was king and had subdued countries and cities and had arrived in the east. He saw on the confines of the east those men who are the children of Japheth. Okay, remember Japheth? They were more wicked and unclean than all other dwellers in the world, filthy peoples of hideous appearance, who ate mice and the creeping things of the earth, and snakes and scorpions. They never buried the bodies of their dead, and they ate as dainties the children which women aborted and the afterbirth. People ignorant of God and unacquainted with the power of reason, but who lived in this world without understanding like ravening beasts. When Alexander saw their wickedness, he called God to his aid, and he gathered together and brought them and their wives and children, and made them go in, and shut them up within the confines of the north. This is the gate of the world on the north, and there is no other entrance or exit from the confines of the world, from the east to the north. And Alexander prayed to God with tears, and God heard his prayer, and commanded those two lofty mountains, which are called the children of the north, and they drew nigh to one another, until there remained between them about 12 cubits. Then he built in front of them a strong building, and bemade for it a door of brass, and anointed it within and without the oil of Tisnachus, so that if they should bring iron implements near it to force it open, they would be unable to move it, and if they wished to melt it with fire, it would quench it. And it feared neither the operations of devils nor of sorcerers, and was not to be overcome by them. Now there were 22 kingdoms imprisoned within the northern gate, and their names are these. These are all from Japheth: Gog, Magog, Nawal, Eshkenaz, Denethar, Paktai, Welotai, Humnai, Parzai, Zaklai, Thaubalai, Darmatai, Kaukabai, and the dogmen. This is the Cynocephali. That's what you see in this picture here. Amdarata, Garmido, Cannibals, Terkai, Alanai, Pisalon, Denkai, and Saltrai. And I'm thinking of you guys who are in Digital Readers Club with me who have all pronounced these kind of difficult names. There's a whole list of them. At the end of the world, at the final consummation, when men are eating and drinking and marrying wives, and women are given to husbands, when they are planting vineyards and building buildings, and there is neither wicked men nor adversary, on account of the assured tranquility and certain peace, suddenly the gates of the north shall be opened, and the hosts of the nations that are imprisoned there shall go forth. The whole earth shall tremble before them, and men shall flee and take refuge in the mountains and in caves, and in burial places, and in clefts of the earth, and they shall die of hunger, and there will be none to bury them, by reason of the multitude of afflictions which they will make men suffer. They will eat the flesh of men and drink the blood of animals. They will devour the creeping things of the earth, and hunt for serpents and scorpions and reptiles that shoot out venom, and eat them. They will eat dead dogs and cats, and the abortions of women with the afterbirth. They will give mothers the bodies of their children to cook, and they will eat them before them without shame. They will destroy the earth, and there will be none able to stand before them. After 1 week of that sore affliction, they will all be destroyed in the plain of Joppa. For thither will all those people be gathered together with their wives and sons and their daughters, and by the command of God, one of the hosts of the angels will descend and will destroy them in one moment. Okay, so that's the Book of the Bee. I'm going to look at some slides about the I can't even think how to say it. Cynocephali, the dogmen. Let me look at that word again here. Cynocephali, sorry about that. Cynocephali. Cynocephali. Now we can see these, there's tons of depictions. I believe a lot of these were done before Alexander became in charge, because we don't see them around today for that particular reason. I think it's a pretty good explanation where all of these Nephilim type hybrid creations that occurred after the flood, possibly under Nimrod, definitely under the children of Japheth. As you can see, a lot of those names, Gog, Magog, Ashkenaz, they're all part of Japheth's progeny. So I'm going to go through some slides here, quick study on the dog-headed men. You can see here they had them in Egypt, they had them in other cultures here. The dog-headed man creatures appear throughout history in every major culture, and this is from Gary Wayne's book. One presumes all the impassioned angels who procreated with women, whether before or after the flood, were imprisoned in the abyss. Other impassioned sons of God that were not seraphim or serpent watchers would also be included, angels who possessed different faces when they took a physical form in the physical world. In this line of thought, then, the polytheist dog-god mythos has surprising global prominence, a mythos that is congruent with bird-like, lion-like, and serpent-like gods, gods who seemingly produce Nephilim offspring that look just like them. Documented sightings. Anubis is the often maligned god of the dead in ancient Egypt. Far from being a terrifying deity, he was a protector of tombs, the patron god of embalmers, and the guide for souls coming into the afterlife. So here we have Anubis attending the mummy of the deceased. This is from Wikimedia. This is Gary Wayne's narrative here on the right. Prominent pagan gods like Tengu and Anunnaki bird gods, Nagas and feathered serpents, and lion-faced gods like Mahis, Bast, and Nergal have a global tradition of producing warrior and priest order or races that look just like them, Nephilim. Urmahulo and or Lamassu of Sumerian legend were a ruthless lion men warrior race. Lion men warriors of ancient Babylon and Akkad possessed lion heads, men's bodies, birds' feet, and identified with Nergal, god of the underworld, while other depictions show a man's head with a lion's body. So here's some monstrous humans by Sebastian Munster, the artist. From left to right, it shows a monopod or cyapod, a female cyclops, conjoined twins, a blemi, and a cynocephali. Cynocephali, does that sound familiar? That's the dog-headed one on the right there in that picture. Or can we rule him out so quickly? Megasthenes, a Greek traveler, reported seeing dog-headed people in India too. According to him, they used barking to communicate with one another. They wore animal skins and lived as hunters. 1 Chronicles 12 verse 8. And of the Gadites there separated themselves unto David into the hold to the wilderness men of might, and men of war fit for the battle, that could handle shield and buckler, whose faces were like the faces of lions. This is in the Bible. And were as swift as the roes upon the mountains. One then wonders if the sons of God and after that part of Genesis 6 Nephilim creation included various kinds and faces of angels, which included dog gods. And this is Genesis 6:4. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that means after the flood, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of, that's supposed to be men there.
It's funny, I just binge watched a show called Grimm, and they talked about these Anubis.
Oh yeah?
And how they were actually, half like hybrids, half human, half dog creatures that would, protect the dead.
Really?
And there were more than one, obviously.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
And there's a bunch of other creatures too that they had in it. Reptilians, all of it.
Interesting.
And the show is about this guy who had the bloodline where he could see them, and he was supposed to go down and kill all of them. So.
Wow, and that's from what, Grimm?
Grimm, it's called Grimm.
You guys want to watch Grimm? Isaac recommends it.
Yeah, it's based off the German lore of the Brothers Grimm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I used to have that book when I was little. The Brothers Grimm.
It was good. I enjoyed it.
All right, so here we have a cynocephaly example of an artist depiction by Saiko. This is own work from Wikimedia Commons, and this is Gary Wayne's narrative. The outer darkness is a great dragon whose tail is in his mouth, outside the whole world and surrounds the whole world. And there are many regions of chastisement within it. There are 12 mighty chastisement dungeons, and a ruler is in every dungeon, and the face of the rulers is different one from the other, or one from another. Chastisement dungeons seemingly are the abyss, holding impassioned fallen angels who created offspring after their kind, and again afterwards described in Genesis 6, Jude 1, 1 Peter 3, and 2 Peter 2. This one is pretty interesting. This is an actual saint, Saint Christopher, and this is from the 17th century. This is not that long ago. I just think it's so unreal that these kind of creatures were around, and who knows, I mean, according to the Book of the Bee, they're locked up in the north. Who knows where else they could be in the underworld, as the other narrative said. Jude 1:6, and the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day. 1 Peter 3:19, by which also he went and preached unto the spirits in prison. This is 1 Peter 3:20, which sometime were disobedient, when once the long suffering of God waited in the days of Noah, while the ark was a preparing, wherein few, that is, 8 souls, were saved by water. 2 Peter 2:5, and spared not the old world, but saved Noah, the 8th person, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly. This is also from Gary Wayne. In the first dungeon is a crocodile ruler. Actually, I think he's quoting from a book we're going to see in the second slide. This is Gary Wayne's quotes from another book. I think it's something Piscis Sophia, I believe it is. The first dungeon is a crocodile ruler. Second dungeon, cat lion. Third, dog. There's the dog one. Serpent dragon, bull, boar pig, bear, vulture raven, basilisk, serpent dragon, hydra dragon, heads, 7-headed cat, that must be interesting, 7-headed dog, and the ruler who is in the third dungeon, a dog's face is his authentic face. This is he who is called in his region Arkarok. And the 12th dungeon is an exceedingly great multitude of rulers, and every one of them has 7 dog-faced heads in his authentic face. Marco Polo even mentions dog-headed men. His travels talk about cynocephaly living on the Andaman Islands. For Polo, they are barbarians and cruel, likened to mastiffs. This is an interesting development, since most depictions use a lupine head for the creatures. A Buddhist missionary discusses an island populated by dog-headed men. The island has been identified both as Japan and the Americas. That links back to the man-faced dog legends of Japan, but it's the first mention of dog-headed men in America. Could these dog-headed men be the ancestors of the Michigan Dogmen? Michigan. Who's from Michigan out there? First reported in 1887, the Dogman was immortalized in 1987 by a local DJ. There have been over 100 reports of Dogmen sightings since then. So, as Isaac was talking about the Brothers Grimm, Hollywood shows us these entities in plain sight with productions such as Sweet Tooth. How many of you guys were hooked on that series for a while? I think they're coming out.
Still waiting for season 2.
There's gonna be another season. And Jurassic World, and there's tons more. Like Isaac was just saying, Grimm. There's so many more depictions. Supernatural, yeah. The dog angel in the third dungeon was named Arkarok. Arok and Arosh are variants of the Hebrew Rosh, meaning head. So like dog head is Arok or Arosh. Biblically, Rosh, and that's the Strong's numbers, means chief and head respectfully, with Ark, G757, Arko, and Archon, meaning first in rank, chief, and ruler. Interesting enough, Rosh is the word used for head in the serpent seed prophecy, Genesis 3:15, we all know that one, and for chief prince of Meshech in the end time Gog war, that's in Ezekiel 38, noting that Gog and Magog were hero giant sons of Iapetus, or Poseidon. This is Gary Wayne's narrative here again. These impassioned fallen angels created serpentine Nephilim, lion Nephilim, dog Nephilim, bird Nephilim, crocodile Nephilim, that's like Sobek, god of Egypt, and perhaps other kinds of reprobate beasts mythology and other religions overflow with. So this is the book that I was quoting a couple slides ago. Imprisoned angels described in Pistis Sophia appear to be angels led by Abaddon or Apollyon, which is also Azazel, who will be released from the abyss in the end time, and perhaps with some of the worst of their reprobate beings they created. So documented as being Nephilim hybrid creatures, such as we will see reappearing in the last days. So there's another picture of St. Christopher, presents him as a warrior, cynocephalus, a dog-headed man from Lycia. Sometimes he is also of gigantic size as well. According to his tradition, he was a Roman soldier taken from the far end of the world who converted and was martyred by an emperor. This is more biblical evidence here from Gary Wayne. The Ultimate Bible Study Suite with the Authorized King James Version noted, the rabbins derived nibhas from a Hebrew nabak, means to bark. One wonders why Avim chose to worship a dog god, raising questions of a hidden genealogical link. 2 Kings 17 verse 31. And the Avites made Nipaz and Tartak, and the Sepharvites burnt their children in fire to Adramelech and Anamelech, the gods of Sepharvaim. Deuteronomy 2 verse 20. That also was accounted a land of giants. Deuteronomy 2 verse 23. And the Avims which dwelt in Hazarim, even unto Azah, the Caphtorims. And that is the end of my study on the dogmen. It's another little side note that I thought would be cool to show you guys and to share from the Book of the Bee, chapter 54. So we're going to take another quick break, and then Noble will be up here to teach you guys some Hebrew. Thank you guys so much for participating today and for listening to this message. And I hope you will do your research on your own. There's so much more of this material. I'm going to be covering some more maybe next week or the following week. So we'll see you guys after the break. Recording live from Hawaii with the George Ohana. After reading through the Bible so many times in my life, it always seemed that there were some pieces missing, such as Genesis 6, the giants. There's mention of giants in the Old Testament, but not as much detail as I would have liked. In fact, there seemed to be more truth in the media and in movies as far as the actual height and stature of these giants. But I always was hoping that there would be other texts available so that I could learn and read more as to exactly who these giants were and how they related to what's going on in the world today. Hebrew Hawaiian Family Ministry is one that we have prayed over and that we are so excited to share these nuggets of truth that we get from reading the Bible, as well as extra biblicals, as well as ancient texts that have been removed over the years, and learning the detail and the backstories of biblical truths and biblical stories really helps them to come alive. We would love to have you join us and be a part of our ministry as we review the ancient languages of Hebrew, Aramaic, Greek, and as we read through the additional material now available to us in English that gives such a deeper meaning to biblical accounts such as the golden calf, the 10 Commandments, and the giants, and how they still play a role in our lives today. The media loves to put these heroes, these famous ones of old, in the spotlight, and that's how it's always been. But as a truth-seeking community, it is so important to utilize the research of others who are on the same path as we are, the path to learning the whole truth about the ancient deities, about the modern idols, and how they're related, how they're the same entities. These accounts of the patriarchs, such as Job or Eov, help us to increase our own personal faith in the Most High. By learning the details of what Iyov endured, it can help us as we're going through our own trials. By learning exactly what happened in the garden with Adam and Havah and the serpent, it can help us to see the relationship to what we're going through today. And what was the role of the serpent in all this? There's so much symbology involving serpents through so many different cultures. It's important to read books outside the Bible in order for us to understand it with a deeper meaning and use our history that has been stolen from us and is now being revealed as knowledge increases in the last days. Did you ever wonder how the Most High called Avraham and hear of his encounter with Nimrod and the fiery furnace? These and other stories are readily available to all of us, and we look forward to sharing with you and to hearing your ideas and your research about these ancient books. We can discover how each apostle wrote books of their own that should have been included and that were included in the early church manuscripts. We all study together, and we all have something to bring to the table as far as our own individual research. So please join us on Saturday evenings for Hebrew class and backstory time on both this YouTube channel, Hebrew Hawaiian, and on Discord with Sacred Word Publishing. We look forward to studying and learning together with you as an online ecclesia, our extended ohana, as we support each other in a world where truth is very hard to find. Blessings to all of you, and Shaloha.
In California.
Oh,
It was, yeah, like I was telling you last night, I lost 7 pounds.
Yeah, that's crazy. Oh,
All right.
So now
Well, good, Marva. Marva lost 7 pounds, and she wasn't even trying. Here I'm trying, and I'm losing nothing. No, it's because people in the chat keep talking about food, like Brick, and Terry Todd, and Marva, and everybody else over there. Shucks.
Betty, I'm going to Betty's house. She's having mixed.
Yeah, Betty started it all. She started with her Mexican, dinner she's making. So, thanks, Betty. that was a good distraction from class. Now that we're back to class,
Everyone's hungry.
yeah, I'm hungry too. So this is not going to take long because it's very short. It's been a very trying and long week for me. So Iyov is still on the back burner because there's just so much to teach on that. It's so deep. It's just so much tangents.
You should tell them what you were doing yesterday, why you're tired.
Oh, yesterday I was painting my house, and I'm not just
finishing it.
I'm not
That's
not
what we saw.
and I'm not painting the house just with regular paint. If you ever watched the first Top to Paint programs of episode 1, 2, 3, and 4, I spoke about EMFs, protection from EMFs. Guess what?
The Y paint, huh?
I'm putting the Y Shield EMF paint on the house right now. So it's all black,
Yeah.
and my association would not agree with that, but I told them I'm going to paint over it. I'm just putting that coat of EMF paint, the Y Shield paint on there, which is again,
Right.
which is very, how can I say this? It helps prevent the 5G, all the EMFs coming up, and I'm going to show this online so everybody can see. This is it right here. Can you see this, Isaac? Yep, that's heavy. This is 1.3 gallons or 5 liters. It says here. Yep, 5 liters for this paint here, and it's not cheap. It's not cheap at all. That 5-liter container or 1.3 gallon container costs $250.
It's expensive.
Very expensive.
We were going to order the White Shield paint years ago when this man came to our garage sale, and we didn't know. The electric company said they had to update our meter, and they put a smart meter in, and we didn't even know what a smart meter was. But this man that came to our garage sale, he was from the mainland, and he started telling us about the smart meter and how dangerous it was, and we had no idea.
Oh, anything
Information, and
anything smart is dangerous. Oops. Yeah. So.
Oh, what's that?
Sorry.
I said no. Anything smart is dangerous. So if you claim to be smart, you're dangerous. So Lisa and I here, we're not smart teachers. We're dumb teachers. So we're not dangerous at all.
We're safe.
We're safe.
I'm stupid.
No.
We're just ignorant teachers. Okay, we don't claim to be smart. So.
Oh gosh, I love learning. You guys are great teachers. Stop it.
Thanks, Marva. All right, so for those of you that are interested in biblical Hebrew, you can listen to me. If not, you can chat with Lisa and everybody else on the chat line. I know it's fun. I was having fun with all the guys and gals over there. We're just having a good time. Tammy wants to katal everybody, so she wants to Ahmed everybody. So that's cool. I'm just going to give you one class on beginning biblical Hebrew, and this is going to be on the study of prepositions again. And so understand that prepositions in Hebrew is straightforward and not complicated at all. The Hebrew preposition functions just like English prepositions. They're used to describe the relationship between words. Okay? For example, these relationships can either be spatial, okay, as it says there, under the book, or on the book, or over the book, or around the book, or through the book, okay? These relationships can also be temporal, as in before class, during class, after class, okay? And there are other relationships that exist, okay? The word following the preposition is called the object of the preposition. So keep in mind that when you're reading your biblical Hebrew Bible and you're looking at the words, whatever follows, okay, the preposition is called the object of the preposition, okay? In Hebrew, there are 3 types of prepositions, and you will be tested on this later, okay? 3 types. The first type to be studied is called the independent preposition, okay? The other 2 are makaf and inseparable, but we're going to study independent right now. This classification is based on the preposition's form and relationship to its object, and not based on its meaning. So you heard me. It's based upon its relationship to the object. So here we go. Independent prepositions. The majority of Hebrew prepositions stand alone. Okay, you heard that. In other words, they're not connected to the object of the preposition. They're standalone, they're by themselves, they're independent, just like your child wants to be when you're going down the grocery store or to the shopping mall. They don't want you to hold their hands, they want to run off, become independent. For this reason, they're called independent, okay? This is just like the English preposition, all right? The following examples illustrate how simple it is to work with this type of preposition. Again, it comes right before. So looking at the word, and I'm going to use my pointer. Isaac doesn't like it, but I have to make sure you guys are following me. Right here, the English term is before the king, and here's the Hebrew, lifnei. Lifnei, again, is the preposition before, and then you got hamelech, okay, hamelech, okay, which is the king. So lifnei hamelech is before the king. Pretty easy, right? Next phrase is under the tree, okay? Tachat ha'etz. Tachat ha'etz. Tachat is under, okay? Ha'etz is the tree, okay? And that's your phrase right there. Notice the independent pronoun, not attached, it's separated. And the last, another example is ahar, akar. What's that?
Hama, Hamabol. Hamabol. Or bull. Actually, it's a shurek. Hamabol. No bull here. Lisa's got all the white bulls. She's got all the brown bulls. Okay, this is.
And she got the nobles.
She got the noble.
The noble, that's a good
She
one.
married one. Okay.
The noble.
Yeah, the brown one. So here, achar ha mabul. Okay, that means after the flood. Achar is after, and hamabul is your flood, the flood. All right. Any questions or comments? Are you guys tracking with me? Are you eating already? If you guys are eating, don't tell me. Okay, don't tell Lisa, so she won't tell me. All right. Here we go. Next term. Ad hanahar. Ad hanahar. As far as. Okay, is the preposition ad. And hanahar is the river. Okay, so as far as the river. Ad hanahar. And the last phrase here is min ha'eretz. Min ha'aretz is from the land. Min is meaning from. Min is actually a preposition that has quite a few meanings, but from is its majority meaning, but it's also used for comparisons, and so just keep in mind min, like Simon, chow mein. Okay, see, I'm thinking of food again. Can't stand it. Okay, but okay, so that's your first category of prepositions. The second category of prepositions is your makef. Okay, the makef preposition is a preposition that is connected to the object, okay, and it's connected by a dash. And in Hebrew, the dash is kind of high. So look at this over here. It's raised. It's joined to their objects by what? A horizontal stroke called a makef. That's why they call it makef preposition. Among the most common prepositions of this type are, again, ad, right here, this one we did, as far as the river. On, upon, concerning, as far as. There's quite a few definitions, okay? Don't think that's the extent of it. This is not exhaustive, okay? Keep that in mind. Another makef preposition is el, to or toward. El, not to be confused with El, the God, God's name. El or Elion or Elohim. This is a different El. This is a preposition. Okay. The next one is again ad. Oh, this is ad. That's al. This is ad. I'm sorry. Here you go. As far as, until. I need to read my Hebrew better. I should stop painting so much. I agree.
Paint
Okay.
in Hebrew in the house.
Paint in Hebrew. Interesting. That means I have to start from the right and go left, not left to right. Okay. And in the other makef preposition is min. Keep in mind again, like I said, min means from, but that's just the beginning of it. There's many more definitions to min. Okay, especially Simon and Chowmin. All right.
Zipman.
Zipmin. In the following examples, you will see the makef used to join these prepositions with their objects. And right here, for example, you got al. Okay, remember al is on or upon. Okay, so here they chose upon. Or you could say, you could also use concerning. Concerning what? The stone. Yeah. Al ha-even. Al ha-even, which is, again, upon the stone, or concerning the stone, or on the stone. All right. The next phrase is al, or el, I should say el, to or toward. Okay. And the next word after that, the object is ha-hekal. Ha-hekal, the temple. Okay, so to the temple or toward the temple. El ha-hekel. Okay, keep that in mind. Any questions? Write me.
Or write a message.
Yeah, snail
Put it in the chat.
snail mail me. Okay, and I'll get it in a month's time, and I'll answer you 2 months later. All right, that's the second category of prepositions. Now for the third preposition, category of prepositions, and this is actually a very, how can I say this? Easy one to remember. There's only 3 to remember. These prepositions are fixed directly to their objects, and they never occur independently. Exactly what we want our children to do. Always stay alongside of us until they become teenagers. Then we want them to be as far away from us as possible. Okay? In other words, they are inseparable from their objects. Okay? There are only 3 inseparable prepositions to be learned. Okay, like I said, 3. And the first one is right here. See the bet with the dagesh lene and the shava below it? be, okay, it's be, it's a hard B, and its definition is, again, not totally exhaustive, but in, by, or with. In is your most common one, but by and with are close second and third, so don't discount those guys. Be, okay. Second one is le, okay, which is translated to or for. Yes, you heard me, to or for. I know there was another preposition earlier that says to or toward. That's al, I believe. So don't get confused with that, but just know that le also means to or for, okay? Okay, the last one is ke, okay? Like a ke or ce. Ke is like, as, or according to. Now you gotta remember that these three prepositions are connected. They are connected. They're Siamese upon the words that they, again, are describing, all right? So rule number one, before most consonants, the inseparable prepositions will appear with the vocal sheva. That's the two dots that's below each consonant, and it is a very short eh sound. Eh, you know, it's like if you're in Hawaii and you see a friend and you want to get their attention, you say, eh, how's it, brah? You know?
You don't say what.
You don't say what, or in Japanese, nani, okay? Because you're gonna scare the poor kid, okay? Like I do with Sora all the time. Okay, so look at this word right here, be-sade, okay? Be-sade, which means in a field. Why a field? Because there's no definite article. It's the preposition be, okay? Remember, it's an inseparable preposition, okay? That means in, okay, or by, or with, okay? And then sade is a field because there's no direct object. So be sade, in a field, by a field, with a field, it doesn't matter, whatever you choose to define it with, that's how it works, okay? The next example is le na'ar, which is le means again to or for, and na'ar is a youth or young man. So le na'ar is for a young man or to a young man. Okay, definitely not talking about me. Okay, up here, oh, I just cut it off. It says like a king. So like is ke again, ke being again, and I'm gonna go back because ke is like, as, or according to. Okay, ke melek. Okay, ke melek is again like a king. Okay, keep in mind again, this is one word now because the preposition is attached. Okay, it is not independent, it is attached. Rule number 2 is before a reduced sheva, reduced or hatef vowel, okay, the inseparable preposition takes the corresponding short vowel of the hatef vowel. And you're probably asking me, what the heck's a hatef vowel? Okay, so let's take out this preposition right here. Okay, ka. Okay, the first word here is the word that that's its object is anashim. Okay, it begins with an aleph. The first vowel for anashim is a hatef vowel. In other words, if they call it hatef, or like a half vowel, it's a very brief sounding vowel. And you notice there's a patat, which is that dash, and then the sheva, the two dots that look like a colon. Okay, this hatef vowel is in all essence an a vowel, a very brief a vowel. So the inseparable preposition takes the corresponding vowel, which since is an a, and puts a patat beneath it, and it takes the sheva out. You notice those two dots are not there anymore. It becomes a dash, which is a patat. That's what happens on certain words that have like a guttural. For example, aleph is a guttural. Here's another guttural, and here het, this is another guttural. For some reason, gutturals require a longer vowel sound in the beginning so you can say it properly. And if for all of us, we want to be able to read Hebrew, not a problem. But if we want to try to attempt to speak it or say it out, read it out loud, that's where lengthening the vowel comes in handy. Okay, so ka anashim is like men. Okay, anashim is men. Ka is like again. Okay, here the next word is Be'emet. You notice that under the bet, you got a segol. The vowel that's underneath the first consonant of the word, emet, is a hatef segol. So the segol from that short vowel translates over to the preposition. Segol, segol. Pretty simple. That's what they're trying to tell you. So be'emet means in truth, okay? There's no definite article, so it's just in truth, not in the truth. And lastly, you got the word kali. Kali is sickness. You put the preposition la kali, la hali, it's for sickness, okay? Or to sickness, all right? And that's pretty much, again, the kamet's following the vowel that's beneath the first consonant of the word, kali, okay? Yeah. Pretty simple, right?
Yeah.
Good. All right. I hope you guys got it. If not, then let me give you number 3, okay? If I didn't confuse you yet, I'll confuse you again.
So the for the in, you could say be kali, like in sickness, and in health, that
Yeah,
kind of thing.
in
Okay.
sickness and yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to do the marriage vows again?
We could
We could.
be kali.
Bekali, in sickness, or in with health. Well, Lisa's working on that.
I forget what health is.
The third rule for inseparable pronouns is that before consonants with a vocal shava, the inseparable prepositions are spelled with hirek. Okay, so in other words, there's going to be a dot below the be, ka, or le. Okay, so again, you're going to be looking at two contiguous side-by-side vocal shavas, and two vocal shavas cannot stand by each other. In other words, they'll irritate each other, and you just can't have that happening. One of them has to get out of the picture or change, okay? And that's what happens in this rule of shava. One of the head shavas changes. So let me give you an example here. Li, okay, le normally has a shava, and then next to the word is neveim, which is prophets, okay? But it would be lamed shava, nun shava. But since the two shavas cannot be side by side because they irritate each other, the first one that's underneath the preposition changes to a hirik, which is an I vowel. So it's going to be li nevi'im, li nevi'im instead of le nevi'im. Subtle nuance in the pronunciation, but it makes the biggest difference. But for us, we're only concerned with the reading part. So li nevi'im means, again, to the prophets, or for the prophet, for a prophet, or for prophets, I should say. Not for monetary gain, that's the wrong prophet. It's for holy prophets, okay? For prophets, okay? Like if you went to a bathroom and it says le nevi'im, that means it's a bathroom only for prophets, okay? You cannot go in there unless you're a prophet.
Okay, I found health.
Okay,
It's beriot.
beriot, so li beriot,
Li beriot.
li kali, or li beriot, in sickness and in health, right?
Yes.
All right, we just did our vows again. You guys are all witnesses. Thank you for joining us for our renewals. You know,
And if those of you following me on either Facebook or Instagram, you've seen that we have a recent anniversary we celebrated.
oh yeah, that's right, yeah.
11 years.
I didn't forget, guys. Aren't you proud of me? I didn't forget our anniversary.
And you're wearing your present.
I'm wearing my present. I gave her a card. Good trade. Like Dances with Wolves says, good trade. All right. If you saw the movie Dances with Wolves, Kevin Costner, you know what I'm talking about. All right. I think Tammy should. She's talking about North Dakota, South Dakota. It's where a lot of Indians are. Your friend, Dad, made the teepees for the movie Dances with Wolves.
Yeah,
Right.
my best friend from college, her
Yeah.
dad.
Auntie Susan?
Yeah, and then also on Dances with Wolves, that necklace thing that,
Yeah.
that he was given by the tribal leader,
Yeah.
the tribal leader's son. Yeah.
No, well, not the son, but one of the warriors. He got the hat,
Yeah.
and the hat. He said, he told him, "Oh no, that was a knife. That was a knife."
No, it's
Right.
the necklace.
Yeah, with the necklace. Yeah. So he get the chest decorative stuff, and he says, "Good trade." you know.
I got to actually wear that necklace when I
You
went
did?
to their house.
Ooh.
Yeah, along
wow.
with some of their costumes they made that out
Sassy.
of deer skin. It was
My
fun.
wife's boasting now.
No, it's just cool to have that kind of connection. Like if you go to any museum in the U.S. and you see like an actual teepee that's made with deer sinew as the thread,
skin and all that, yeah.
and buffalo, it's from buffalo hide.
Yeah.
He's the only guy in the U.S. right now that knows how to tan buffalo hide the Sioux way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he's not even Sioux.
And he
He's
named his daughter Sue.
Yeah, he did. And he's a missionary.
And he's a
to the
missionary.
Sioux.
You know, if you want to get into a good business, go find him. Learn what he has before he again totally retires, because then it'll be lost, right? That trade,
skill, yeah.
that skill will be lost for all eternity, right?
'Cause it was passed down through orally, through the Sioux tribe, but then they shared it with him, and since nobody in the tribe, the elders had passed away that knew how to do it. So, like if you go to St. Louis, if you go to the Arch, there's
Yeah.
a museum underground, underneath the Arch,
Oh wow.
and that's where I saw one of his teepees that he did.
Oh, yeah? Was it connected to the Underground Railroad too?
I don't know.
And the underground military bases?
It could be. It could be. Okay, sorry, tangent.
All right, back to Hebrew, guys. Let's see. Le nari, le no berit, li berit. So again, it should have been a shiva, but it's reduced to it's actually lengthened to a hirik. So li berit means for a covenant or to a covenant. Okay, the whole idea again is that two shivas side by side will not make good friends, and one has to change. Okay, and lastly, number 4, in nouns with a definite article. Oh, now we're getting to definite articles. The. Okay, the prefixing of the preposition is somewhat unusual. The vowel and the dagesh forte of the definite article, because you remember that that in a definite article you'll have a patak below it, and then you'll have a dagesh forte on the first consonant that the definite article is connected to. And so some of you that are new to Hebrew are saying, what the heck are you talking about? Sorry guys, that's what I'm teaching today. So I'll explain to you more later, just write me, okay? The vowel and the dagesh forte of the definite article are retained, but the consonant of the preposition replaces the ha, the hey, okay, of the definite article. In other words, ha, and we say that on texting a lot, ha ha ha, because we're laughing. The H is taken out, okay? And the vowel and the dagesh forte are sucked in by the inseparable preposition, okay? The following illustrates this process. So you see the word a field, sadeh, okay? You notice sadeh right here? And then when you're going to say the field, now you're going to say there's that ha, the hey, the patak, and the dagesh forte, the doubling of the scene. Okay, so it's hasadeh, the field. All right. Now, I did not add what it looks like with the preposition. My bad.
That's not right down there.
No, it's going to be the next page, but I didn't get to copy it. So I'm going to stop here because we're done with Hebrew. Okay, we're going to talk more about teepees and yellow showers, Tammy, and all that kind of fun stuff.
Ew.
All right.
What the heck?
You got to read in the text. Tammy did something that in our BC days, I guess. Was it before Christ, Tammy? Hope so. But that's it for Hebrew, guys. Next week, I'm really going to work on trying to get the Yov done for the section I'm working on. It's really fascinating, and it's just leading me down a lot of paths, a lot of roads that are just, wow, you would never think of. But with that, I'm going to call my wife back up here so we can kind of close up our evening. For some of you there, I know it's kind of late, so I know Lisa has her prayer list book with her.
Yeah.
Not too much prayer requests when I was chatting, but
Yeah. Did you see any come in? Remember any that might have come in?
I think Brick was praying for food, like I am. Brick.
We're gonna go eat in about 30 minutes at our wonderful
That's not
neighbor's house.
soon enough. Yeah, but for the Pagbas who are there cooking, Alan especially, and Edelyn, thank you so much for preparing dinner for us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
thank you,
Ginger
Annabelle.
is going to join us for the first time at their
Wow.
place,
Yep.
Yah willing, tonight,
Yep.
to have in-person fellowship with us and learn some more about First Enoch.
We're gonna learn more about bulls.
More about bulls.
Bull.
About Red Bulls, like you.
No, I'm a tan bull.
He's noble.
And they're no bull.
There's no bull. There's no lying with me. Okay.
That was a good lesson, though, hon. Yeah.
Oh.
People were watching.
It's Hebrew. There
Yeah.
were more chatting, I believe. I would have been chatting. Shucks. Somebody had to teach it. Okay. All
Okay,
right.
we do have some prayer requests that came in this week. There seems to be quite a few people that have this kind of like congestion thing that I have, and then much worse, because mine is just like the sniffles. It's
Who
not
has it?
Like Tammy.
Tammy, you give it to my wife. Shame on you, Tammy.
Tammy's been really sick.
No streaming illnesses, girl.
All I know is I would not have wanted to be an ER staff when she had to go to the ER because she
Oh.
wasn't too happy there.
Oh, did she curtail the staff?
She was about ready to let loose.
she curtail the staff?
To Katal.
Tammy Ahmed.
But we're praying that you get better, Tammy. Just
Yep,
keep,
Tammy.
keep taking that megadose vitamin C. And
Vitamin C.
If you got antibiotics, make sure that you're drinking some kind of kefir or fermented something to keep your stomach like okay, because the antibiotics kill off all the bacteria, even the good one too. So you got to replenish it. So make sure you eat like olives or sauerkraut or something with vinegar.
Kimchi.
Or kefir. And I drink like an entire bottle of kefir every day if I'm on antibiotics. So.
Yeah.
But I'm not on it now. I just have the sniffles.
I put soju in my kefir.
What is that?
Soju. For those of you that know what soju, Isaac knows what soju is.
Oh, okay. Anyway, Sharon also from Digital Readers Club. She has a fever. I announced it at the beginning of class. That's why we didn't have DRC today. So please keep her in your prayers.
Keep sharing in prayer.
Yeah,
Okay.
she seems to have been kind of off and on, not feeling good for the past month. So
Uh-oh.
yeah, and then also for Ginger, you guys please keep Ginger in your prayers. She's she has a little bit of a congestion too going on, but mostly for the tumor that's on her neck. We thank you guys so much for all of you that helped to donate
Oh, yeah.
to support her, to support us supporting her. It's been wonderful to see all of the love and the care that's come in with the monetary donations. If you haven't donated yet, or if you'd like to support Ginger some more because she lost everything, she has nothing. At endeavorfreedom.net, you can go there, and when you make the donation, this is through Zen, Justin Joy, through their ministry. Just make sure you earmark it for Ginger. Okay, so you can go to endeavorfreedom.net, and she really appreciates everything, just because she has nothing left. You know.
And if you want to donate a car, don't donate it to Kidney Cars. Donate it to Ginger. She doesn't
Yeah.
have a car.
Yeah.
We don't know how we're going to get it here, but we'll work on that. Okay.
Yeah, but that's the reason she was able to even fly here to come and heal at our house, is because people donated for her plane ticket. They donated. For the next step, wherever she decides that she needs to go after here, we're not the last place that she's settling, as far as from what the Most High has told her, I believe. But wherever she decides to go afterwards, she's able to have
Isaac?
the funding through you guys. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I know Ginger does too. She just was overwhelmed with the amount of people that had helped her out. Also for, let's see, one prayer request came in during Zen's presentations this week and his readings, and that was from someone named Thomas. You guys can pray for Thomas. He was married, his wife passed away, and for the past over 10 years or so, he's been praying for a godly wife to come into his life, for a woman so he's not alone. And so,
Thomas.
his name is Thomas, yeah. Also for the Garcia family, keep them in your prayers. I know that Justin and Joy have been kind of in recovery from some kind of bug that was going around that for the past couple months, they've been kind of off and on struggling with health. So I'm praying for you guys, Justin and Joy, if you guys are watching.
Stevie actually sent in a request for prayer for her nephew.
Okay, oh.
Her nephew is like into the celebrities, Kanye, Kyrie Irving, it's the big megastars. And we all know that if you're a celebrity, then you're probably taken away from God's time. God doesn't like to share his time. He should be first and foremost. So let's keep Stevie's nephew
Yes.
in our prayers, so that he would come to know the Almighty. Okay. And then I got this message from my daughter. she said that one of their friends, he used to work at the shop, my cousin Frida's shop. His name is Pat Lee. He apparently had a stroke,
Oh wow.
and he's in the hospital. And from what
He's
my
young,
daughter says,
kind of younger
yes,
too.
he's young. He's Pat,
younger
Pat
than
Fields'
me.
name.
Yeah.
Pat Fields' age. Well, Pat is a young guy. He got a stroke, and they say that his prognosis does not look good.
Wow.
All right, so if you could lift him up in your prayers, he's a good guy, you know. Pat Lee is his name.
Okay.
Keep him in your prayers as well, as we will.
We had a praise report from Marva. She's safely back home, and they're not sick anymore. So thank you for sharing that, Marva. That's such good news to hear that you
She's
guys are
7
all.
pounds lighter,
Yeah.
so she's already light to begin with. So don't go out in the wind, Marva. Might get blown away. And again, praise God that Tommy's niece again,
Oh yeah.
Tiger Lily, is recovering and doing well from her coma.
Yeah.
So that's a praise report. I mean, I love the praise reports. So thank you, Tommy, for sharing that. Tommy Kiefer. And gosh,
Yeah. Luis.
Luis is just, he's got a new schedule. He's busy. So
He was supposed to teach today, but he's got a
he,
lot of stuff going on.
he's got a new job and,
Yeah.
and new position, new demands. And so he actually won't be here the rest of this month. This is December. So he said he'll join us back in January. So Luis, yeah, thanks for letting us know. Get your ducks in order and come back whenever you're ready. Okay.
Also for Penny, she and her husband have been kind of sick on and off too. So full recovery for Penny. That's why she
Yeah,
hasn't
Penny.
been in class. She sent me an email just to explain. So prayers for Penny and her husband.
Vitamin C, girl. Vitamin C till it comes out all the orifices.
Yeah.
That's how much vitamin C you got to take.
And I've been taking 7,000 milligrams a day.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
Shucks. Good.
and you kind of have to work your way up. You can't just take all 7 one time. Like
Yeah,
you-
your tummy's not gonna like that if you do that. So.
Start with like 2,000 milligrams, and then every other day you can add like another 1,000, and just kind of see how you feel.
Mm.
As long as you're not having a lot of tummy issues, you
Yeah.
can keep going up.
And don't go on long road trips if you're gonna be upping your dose because you never know when nature calls. Okay.
That's true. And don't take it together with magnesium citrate. I made that mistake a couple of years ago.
Oh, what happened, honey?
You just really, really bad stomach pain.
You mean all like gurgling
Quick,
and all that?
quick digestion. Yeah.
Good sound effects, Isaac. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. We appreciate you all.
Would you like to close in prayer, please?
Sure.
Okay, and for all the requests too.
For all the prayer requests,
Yes.
for all the students out there, for all the chatters out there.
You can always reach out to us too at biblicalhebrewhawaii@gmail.com. And some of you have been great. You guys reach out and let me know your prayer requests, or you send us like some cool things to look
Yeah.
at. And thank you guys. I only check the email maybe once every other day or so. So if you don't hear back from me right away, that's why. But I try to check it as much as possible.
Sometimes it takes 3 days for her to get back to me. So don't feel bad. You're not alone.
That's fine.
All right. Heavenly Father, we again thank you so much for just a continual blessing and the strength and fortitude to endure our lives. Whatever we may be going through, you're there. Wherever we may be sinking down, whatever lows that we've come to hit in our lives, you are there. And then again, Lord, when we hit the extreme highs, when we're rejoicing and celebrating, you are there. Thank you so much for being there for all of us. I think that simple reminder that you will never leave us nor forsake us, Hebrew 13:5, Joshua 1:5, I believe, is again a powerful statement, knowing that the most powerful being in the cosmos is there by your side, never to leave nor forsake you. Thank you again for all of this. May we again just rejoice in you and continually praise you and pray to you as we, Lord, desire to be closer to you. We pray all this in the name above all names, where every knee shall bow and every tongue will confess, Yeshua is Adonai, my Lord. Thank you, Father. Thank you, Yeshua, by the power of the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit. And we all say,
Amen.
Amen, Amen. All right, guys.
We'll see you on Tuesday. If not Tuesday, we'll see you next weekend. You guys have a awesome
and
week.
remember this phrase, okay? Kadosh Ha'adon. Kadosh Ha'adon.
Kadosh
Kadosh
Ha'adon.
Ha'adon. Okay? Holy is the Lord. holy is the Lord, holy is the Lord. He is. And when you keep saying that, especially in triplets, like in scripture, then guess what? God is being praised by you, and you're doing it in His language, okay? Because He is, again, Lord. Amen.
Amen. All right.
Shalom, everybody.
Aloha, guys.
Take care.